we're going to do is start with one more bit of email cred that I think is important for you guys to know. And every true email marketer loves the same thing. And this will hopefully prove to you that because I love this, that I am a true email marketer. But every true email marketer has a passion for an annual rite that begins the third week of March and ends in May. And that is coaching junior high school high jump. So I love high jump. I high jumped in high school. I'm the epitome of if you can't do, teach. I started coaching soon after I realized I wasn't that good. And I really enjoy it. It's just a fun way to get away from the screen and spend time with some really good kids. And so this is what it looks like. My spring Tuesdays and Thursday afternoons every year at Snowcrest Junior High School in Eden, Utah. And I want to tell you a little story about this girl back here. So every year we do tryouts, and we just have the kids line up, and they're there for a lot of various reasons. Some are there because their English teacher gives them extra credit. Some are there because their parents are forcing them to do it, try to relive their glory days of their youth. But they're all there to have fun, and so we try to have fun. So we just let them jump, and I kind of have a notebook, and I keep track of who's doing well, who has some potential. And when this girl took her first jump, it was like the heavens opened, and this light came down, and every dream that I'd ever had in my coaching career, if you can call it that, was realized. And she was so good. And within 2 months, as a 7th grader, she took 2nd place at the region meet against 9th graders. And then 2 years later, skipping a year because of COVID, she actually won regionals with a height that if she was on my high school team when I was a senior, she would have won the state championship. And I was just so confused about this for a long time, because for all intents and purposes, she was just like every other jumper on my team. She had a background in basketball. In basketball, you learn how to jump off of one foot to do layups, and you learn which foot it is, both helpful things in high jump. Played soccer. There's some things they do, some drills that you do in soccer that help. They have trampolines in the backyard. They have some air awareness. When you're in the air, you kind of have to know when to raise your hips and kick your legs. She had all these things, and all these other kids had all these things. I thought, what is the difference? What is going on? What makes her so freaking good? And then I figured it out one day. She had a background in gymnastics, not like tumbling that we put our 6 or 7-year-olds in to wear them out before bed, but honest to goodness gymnastics. And it turns out there's a skill you practice in gymnastics, I didn't know this, that transfers perfectly to high jump. And it was so interesting. With all these very similar skills, she added one on top of that, and she went from average to really having a huge advantage against the other kids. Let me tell you another story along these same lines. This is my friend Tony. And please, if anyone knows Tony, do not tell him I use this picture in this presentation. But Tony is one of the best marketers I've ever met, and he's in the ski industry. He works for Mission Ridge Ski Resort in Washington State. And Tony, again, by all intents and purposes, is just like every other marketer in the ski industry. He knows the industry really, really well. He's got some really good marketing skills. He's really savvy with writing and understanding markets. But he was doing this stuff that was just blowing my mind. I'm like, Tony, how are you able to do this? What is the thing that's clicking for you? And it took me a while to figure it out. And then one day, I realized he's the only marketer in the ski industry with a degree and background in economics. And you take that generic skill set, you add one more skill on top of that, and it takes him from average to a huge advantage against other marketers. These +1 moments are really interesting to me. I've noticed these a lot lately. And this is the idea behind, to Gilda's point, getting away from this old boys club, right? When we have more people, more experiences in a room, we have more opportunities for someone to have a unique perspective that helps take us from that kind of homogenous view to something special and gives us an advantage. So I spent most of my email career, not in this sort of mainstream email marketing community. So when I started SendView, when I kind of entered this community for the first time, I was really surprised by how much people talked about retail. I never really had done retail before. I'd done a little bit at the very beginning, but direct-to-consumer, retail, all this stuff was just the lion's share of what I heard and I read. And this is especially true from about early September to December, when it's almost all Black Friday, Cyber Monday. And I started to run numbers, and we all know that it's no longer a 2-day event, it's a month-long event. But the conversation starts 2 months before and it goes for a month after. And I was like, this is all we talk about. Now, this is absolutely justified because email is such a perfect fit for retail and for direct consumer. But in the interest of finding those +1 moments, in the interest of diversity of ideas and finding things that can kind of take you or above or give you an advantage, sometimes we lack that diversity. And that's one thing I really applaud really good emails for, is they work so hard at bringing in lots of different ideas. So what I want to do today is lean on my background a little bit and lean on the things we've learned from some of our SendView users who come from a lot of really cool backgrounds, and just take you on a very simple but interesting tour through some other industries and how they use email marketing, and some interesting things that I've learned. And just as a little bit of a disclaimer, so on the scale of absolutely pump you up, just do it sort of inspiration, and just giving you a very practical tool, I do want to lean a little bit more towards practicality. I do want to inspire you. I want to tell you some stories and things, but I do want you to go back to your offices on Monday and not say, boy, that was a great talk from Greg. What the heck did he talk about again? I don't want that to happen. I want there to be at least one thing that you can take away and use and apply to your marketing going forward. So that sounds like a plan. We're going to start in an industry that I just have to take some deep breaths before I jump into this, because we're going to start in politics. This was one of the most interesting things I've ever watched, was the lead up to the 2020 election and the way email was used in this election. So here's a pop quiz. If you would have signed up for Donald Trump's emails before the 2020 election, how many emails would you have received from his team on election day? Does anybody dare guess?
57.
Ooh, 7. What was that?
53 or 57 is a lot.
I was expecting someone to go a little lower first so I could have this dramatic reveal, but regardless, it's 39. Thanks a lot. I'm just kidding. 39 emails. Isn't that crazy? I mean, how many of you have sent more than 3 emails in a day on purpose, not because you had to correct something in your life? A couple of you. And there's only 39. I thought 9 that Joe Biden sent was a lot. It's wild. So the way they get away with this is, there are a couple things. The first thing is that they use a different from name almost every email, right? Same from address, different from name, so it looks like it's coming from different people. If you look at the last 30 days of Donald Trump team's emails, you would see 81 different from names. So that's one way. Talk about design better, spam never. It may not fit that exactly. But there's something else here. I really was turned off by this for a long time, but I thought, this is interesting. They've got some bright minds here. What can I learn from this? And the other thing that I thought was really interesting about this is that they only sell one product. And it's not even a product, right? It's fundraising. That's it. That's the point of every email. Now, if you're a Black Friday, Cyber Monday brand, you have probably lots and lots and lots of products you can cycle through, feature 1 or 2 or 3 a day, and not have to repeat for months at a time. So how the heck do you get away with selling the same product 39 times a day? It's a good question. It's the question I've been asking for a while. And the short answer, and I have to kind of asterisk this a little bit because it's become a bit of a hollow word, but they tell stories. And we've said that word so much that it doesn't mean a whole lot. So let me tell you how I define stories, which is stories are things that give moments meaning. Okay? Me. So you can tweet that if you want. But let me give you an example of what I mean by this, because it's helped me a lot when I tell marketing stories. So my mom, here on the left, just booked a vacation to Hawaii, as you can see on our family website that she posted the other day. Pretty straightforward, right? Lots of people are going to Hawaii, la-di freaking da, my mom is going to Hawaii. Now let me tell you a story that gives this moment meaning. 30 years ago, my parents went to Hawaii. My mom grew up extremely poor. There's no way they could have ever gone to Hawaii, but my dad's business was doing well. They thought, why not? Let's do it. So they did, and they absolutely loved it. And their favorite thing was snorkeling. They snorkeled all day, every day. 2 years later, my dad's business failed. Lost everything. House, savings, everything. 2 years after that, my mom got breast cancer. Every 2 weeks during her treatments, she would go into a room and she would feel those chemotherapy drugs flow into her arm, and she would realize that for the next week it was going to be hell, right? She's going to throw up, her hair's going to fall out, she's going to feel pain like she's never felt in her life. So in those moments, she would go snorkeling in Hawaii. Sorry, I don't get emotional. And she did that over and over for this whole treatment. 10 years later, financially, they're getting to a better place. She gets cancer again. Again, she goes back to Hawaii to get through that time. Finally, after getting cancer again 10 years later, her health is good enough, their financial situation is good enough, and my mom is going back to Hawaii. Do you feel the difference? It's a moment, but the story gives it meaning. It's the same thing I did with this. Let me tell you a little bit more about this moment. Cammie is the name of this young woman. The way I do practices is I start with the bar really low, so all the beginners come, and then I raise it till the best jumpers are done. Then we put everything away. Here are the big, strong, strapping boys jumping. Cammie is not watching the boys. She is waiting for the boys to finish so she can jump. See how just that little bit of extra insight gives that moment a little bit more meaning. So when we tell marketing stories, what are we giving meaning to? Well, we're giving it to our products. Sometimes, and I'm guilty of this a lot when I write stories, sometimes we tell marketing stories just for the sake of telling a story. Hey, our client did something awesome, let's tell that story. Instead of using that story to build up to give the product or a call to action meaning. Let's see how they do this in politics. So on the 20th of January, both Donald Trump's team and Joe Biden's team sent almost identical emails. Fascinating, because it was the 5-year anniversary of Donald Trump's inauguration and the 1-year anniversary of Joe Biden's inauguration. Now note, there isn't a big button at the bottom saying, read more about the anniversary of our inauguration. That's what you typically see, right? What they do instead is they work up for something like this. We have worked so hard the last year. All of our dreams, everything in our lives has worked toward this moment to be president and vice president and try to make change that we believe in. But we can't do it alone. You know, we need more Democrats in the Senate. We need this. We're losing. We're trailing in different cities. If you can give us $10, it can help us increase our spend and outspend those nasty Republicans in these states. Please give $10 if you can. See that? They're telling a story, and it builds up to the exact same product over and over and over and over and over and over and over. That's all they do. This is the entire political strategy of virtually every candidate in the country right now. And again, it's not saying go read the story. The story is not the point. The point is to give meaning to the call to action. Now, again, this is a little spammy, so let's share a better example. So Summer from Emails Done Right has done a great job with this with her boot camp launch. She tells a story, or has someone tell a story about their experience with the boot camp. And note, it doesn't say, go read the full story over on my blog. It is, on the bottom right there, you can get the same thing that this person experienced by joining my boot camp. Sign up today. I've only got 2 slots left, or whatever it is. She does a great job with that, just telling stories, not for the sake of telling stories, but to give purpose and meaning to her product. So the lesson, if you don't have a product that you can sell over and over again very easily on its own, use stories to add variety, increase the engagement you have with your database, and then give recurring meaning to that same product or that same call to action. So I love skiing, and ski resorts are a place that I've spent a lot of my career. So let me teach you about ski resorts for just a second. If you were to look at the database of a ski resort about 15 years ago, what you would see is a very small group of what you call pass holders, people that buy season passes that you can use over and over and over again. But the majority of people are going to buy lift tickets, just day tickets. They're going to ski 4 or 5 times a year when it makes sense. But if you look at databases today, they've flipped almost completely. You have a huge group of pass holders. They've lowered the price to try to get more people to commit early so they get revenue in the door early and kind of decrease the weather dependency so people buy before they have to watch the weather for the weekend. But then now there's this really small group of people that buy day tickets. And what's happened is they've changed from a company like a Black Friday, Cyber Monday brand that sends stuff all the time, they're always selling over and over again to the same people, to more like, well, a company that sells one thing a year. Oh my gosh, my son would be so excited. What's going on right now? Oh man. Maybe I should count the cars and I'll tell him, because that's his favorite thing. So instead of being a Black Friday, Cyber Monday brand, it's a one thing a year. What do you do for the rest of the year? This is a question they kind of ask. Like if we sell something big to all of our customers once a year, well, what do we do the rest of the time? And the answer comes in this chart. I love this chart. This chart compares the renewal rate of season pass holders to how many days they've skied during that season. As you can imagine, if a season pass costs $1,000 and a day ticket costs $100, if you don't ski 10 days, you're probably going to tell yourself, I'm better off just buying day tickets. If you ski 15 days, you might say, I should have bought a season pass. And if you ski 5 days, then you're not sure you're going to renew that pass because you didn't get a lot of value. You paid roughly $200 a day to ski. But right in the middle there, if you can see right around like 6 to 8, that's a really steep curve. Every day someone skis makes a huge difference in terms of how much more likely they are to renew. And so this is what Squaw Valley Alpine Meadows, now known as Palisades Tahoe, helped them with their rebrand. I didn't help them, I'm just helping you so you know that that's their rebrand. This is what they did. All those people, they built an email automation. They had in the database the number of scans, the number of visits. They knew who these people were. So they built an automation that every spring, with maybe 6 weeks left in the year, they send an email out to all these people that says, when you come back, lunch is on us. What this does is they only have to pay for this lunch voucher if it's used. But if it's used, that means they came skiing. And if they came skiing, they're more likely to renew. And I love it. It's just such a simple idea of building what I call future value, right? They're planning ahead. They're getting ahead of these issues so the next time they ask someone to buy, they're that much more likely to do so. Another perfect example about hotels, I'll talk more about hotels in a second. Hotels, when you look at the reviews of hotels, typically the worst reviews have to do, not always I'll say, but the ones I've looked at, often have to do with the first day of their trip, right? They hit construction on the way, their flight was delayed, they're grouchy when they get to the front desk, and they can't find the front desk, their room is dirty. All these things happen on the first day. And so what hotels do is they send an arrival day email to their guests that just gets ahead of these issues. If you're having trouble, call this number. Google Maps doesn't do a very good job with where we are, so here's the exact coordinates to plug into your GPS. If you arrive early, here's a guide of things to do so you don't waste the first 3 hours of your trip. I love this. It identifies the issues that prevent people from buying something again, and it gets ahead of those things. So the lesson here is use email to build automations to get ahead of issues. So if you don't sell things very often, if you sell things once a year or even once a month or every 5 years, there is going to be a reason why people don't buy from you the next time. Identify those things and get ahead of those things. So, hotels. Man, speaking of hotels, hotels are having a really, well, not all hotels, but many hotels in like destination markets where it's more of an aspirational type thing. Downtown's not as much, but in destinations, it is ridiculous right now. You talk about pent-up travel demand from the pandemic, it's insane. For example, right now, in this is an article that was published a couple weeks ago, year over year, their occupancy, so the number of rooms that were actually filled, were up 37%. Their average nightly rate that they charged was up 40%. So their revenue year over year was up 92%. And even if you compare it to before the pandemic, they're still up 40%. Now, if you're a Black Friday, Cyber Monday brand, or if you go on really good emails and you look at all the Black Friday, Cyber Monday brands, what is the one thing that shows up in almost every single email? A discount. Yeah. Should a hotel right now be discounting? No. But they also recognize that someday this wave is going to end, and they want to fill as many rooms as they possibly can before that happens. But they don't want to discount. So how do you build value? How do you build performance without discounting? Now I want you to think about, let's say, a $300 a night hotel room. There are two variables in this in terms of why people will or won't buy. The first is the price, but the second is that individual perceived value. And remember, the perception of value is individual to every person, right? So let's say on this side of the room, these are all the people that say, $300 a night for a hotel room, that's a great value. I would absolutely buy that. And over on this side, you're like, are you crazy? I stay at Motel 6 usually, and that is great for me. Somewhere in the middle, when we drop that $300 price line, that's going to divide the people who might buy from the people who almost surely won't. So what we typically do to move that line and get more people on this side of the line is we change the price, right? We move it over so we can get more people to say, you know, at my perception of value, that's a pretty good deal. But what I love about hotels and what they're doing right now is they're saying, we're not going to do that. We're not going to change the price to give you value. We're going to change the value to increase the value. And what they do is they give resort credits. And it's just a simple thing, right? If you're a hotel, you can't pull more hotel rooms out of storage or out of a distribution center when demand spikes. You have 100 rooms, that's it. You're done. And so the thing that they can scale is these freebies. The thing that they can scale is maybe more drinks or more spa treatments or whatever that they don't have capacity constraints around. And there's one other really important thing about this that's important to note. When I charge $200 or I discount that $300 hotel room, you're still getting the same experience. when I increase the value, you're getting a better experience. And guess what correlates to a higher likelihood of returning? A better experience. So the lesson here is A, try to add value not by discounting, but by increasing the experience. And I want to point out, I'm not referring to free shipping here. Free shipping is getting the value sooner. Adding value would be getting something beyond that that helps you have a better experience with the thing that you purchased. But the bonus is that because you're increasing the experience, the next time you ask them to buy, the more likely they are to do so. Let's talk about stickers. To talk about stickers, I actually want to back up and talk about those early days of email that Gilda was referring to. So back in the day, we had these beautiful websites, not very beautiful in today's standards, but we thought they were beautiful at the time, and we had email. And we would write an email to our boss, and we would write an email to our marketing manager, even though I've never really had a team. I've just always been myself in these small companies, but if I did have a marketing manager, I would have totally sent him an email. We'd send an email to them, and then we would send an email to our database. And that's kind of how I thought about email for the first few years. It was just a simple thing that was really, really good at getting people from point A, where they are right now, on the couch, on the toilet, at work, wherever, to where I want them to be, which is my website. Because I know if 50 people click or 100 people click or whatever, I'm going to sell one of my products. Over the years, technology improved immensely. And today, what we're doing is taking all this cool stuff on our website and we're able to put it in the email. So cool, right? That's why we're here, to get better at this. This shift, though, added a ton of overhead, right? If we are recreating our website in an email inbox every time we send a campaign, that's a lot of overhead. We've got to design, we've got to copyright, we've got to test, we've got to test again after we fix something. Until we fix it again, we got to test again, make sure that didn't break something on Outlook. We go through these cycles, that's a lot of overhead. So when we talk about email ROI, yes, it depends on how much you get out of the email, how much revenue you make, but it absolutely depends on how much you put in, the time cost of sending that email. And this added a lot of time cost. Now again, if you're a Black Friday, Cyber Monday brand, you got tons and tons of revenue coming out the other side of emails. You've got all the time in the world, all the space in the world to make amazing emails. But what if you don't? What if you sell really low priced things, or if you have a really small database right now, or you just don't have, for whatever reason, the ROI on emails to justify it? That's a question. That's a question I've asked a lot in my career because this is what I face over and over again. And it makes me think of a company, and I'm not going to say that this company is exactly, this is the constraint that they operate under, but they have a lot of the similarities. Sticker Mule. I love Sticker Mule. Such a great brand. They sell low-priced things. They send a lot of emails. They're constantly creating campaigns. So if you're a company like Sticker Mule, and you're sending a lot of campaigns, you've got a small team, and you're not making a lot of money from each email, you may not have the justification to create a really fancy email every single time. So this is what Sticker Mule does. That's it. This fascinates me beyond end. I think about this. Have you read the copy? So good. It says, if you can't read it in the back, it says, the only thing more fun than running through cornfields topless is buying holographic stickers. Forward this to someone who enjoys stickers or cornfields. So this is their whole email. There are two things that fascinate me about this. The first is that I get a lot of emails. I study a lot of emails. Of all the emails I've had in the last week, I literally cannot remember a single one that I got except for Sticker Mule. I remember every single one. 50 round circle stickers for $29, $9 t-shirt, which I bought because why not? They had a $1 deal on 10 stickers that I bought. They are always sending these, and I'm always remembering them, and I'm not remembering any of the other emails I get. I love amazingly built, beautiful emails, but there's something that just wrecks my mind when I think about this. But there's something else about this, right? We understand that emails like this work, because when you email your boss, and you need him to approve that order for the trade show booth that you're ordering for the show next month, how many words long is that email? And at what point do you know that your boss is not going to read that email? 25, 30 words probably, right? Guess how long the average marketing email is, at least from the SendView database? 347 words. We know that these emails work. And so the lesson here that I'm still fascinated by is that if you have the choice between these two things, it's okay sometimes to just start simple. Think of the beautiful emails in really good emails as the goal, and recognize that maybe you don't have the ROI right now. When your list is bigger, when you are better at getting ROI out of a campaign, then move on to something more sophisticated. Then you'll have the bandwidth or the cushion to invest more in those emails. So the goal here today is to look for some of these +1 moments, right? We're looking for these things that we can add to our maybe homogeneous or kind of common skill set in our industry. Look for one thing that can kind of give us an advantage. And we've talked about 4 of these, which means we've talked about approximately 0.001% of all things we could talk about. It's endless. There are examples like this all over the place. And so if there's one thing I want you to remember from my talk is that A, there are some interesting things to learn, but B, keep looking for them. There are so many cool things out there, and you will eventually find some really cool +1 moments that, for whatever reason, match with your skill set or your experience, give you a really cool advantage. And I want to give you my story of this to end. So like any email marketing, high jump loving guy from Utah, I put myself through school by selling home snowmaking machines. I mean, who didn't? Who didn't really? Let's be honest.
Relatable.
Totally relatable, yeah. So I'm just a weird guy, I guess, and this is what I did in high school. I built home snowmaking machines. And so when I was at college and I couldn't find a job, I thought, maybe I should try selling these things. And it worked. And so I had a really cool website with one of those trust seals that everybody was doing back then, PayPal buy now button, all that cool stuff. And people told me about email, right? I had my little script that I'd started. So I made this download the 10 secrets to super cheap snowmaking ebook or videos or something like that. And that was videos. It's been a while. And for 2 months out of the year, this worked awesome. I sold a ton of snowmakers. I captured a ton of emails. This was from about mid-November to mid-January. Once White Christmas possibility was over, nobody cared anymore. But I still got a lot of traffic, and I was perplexed. I'm getting a lot of traffic, nobody's buying, what should I do? But at the time, I was exposing myself to a lot of different ideas, and I watched the Marketing Experiments webinars with Flint McLaughlin. Did anybody ever watch these back in the day? Yes, those are awesome. I love that guy's voice. Isn't that awesome? So I was addicted to these things, and one day, Flint shared a fascinating idea that I'd never considered before. He said, if you don't have right now enough intent from your visitors to sell them on something, well, they're visitors, so there's interest, so just capture that interest and then wait or foster or nurture that interest until there is an appropriate time to sell. And I was like, holy smokes, that's me. But the idea of not selling for a while terrified me. But again, I didn't have a lot to lose because the summer before I made this change, this is what it looked like again, I captured about 30 emails that summer and I made 1 sale. So I made a change, removed the buy now button, and I said, we're sold out. If you want to get notified when the next batch is available in the fall, stick your email below, and I'll also give you a discount for being patient. The results were 2,500 emails captured and 25 sales. For a kid in his dorm room trying to graduate college debt-free, that was huge, absolutely huge. And that showed me just how powerful these little ideas could be in email marketing. So if I'm any indication, they're out there. They're absolutely out there. Keep looking, keep learning from other industries, and I really truly believe that you'll find some if you keep looking. So thank you.